Hi YouTube, welcome to the transvestigation of Ariana Grande. I really wanted to go in on this one, but this is going to be a relatively short video compared to my other ones because I'm not going to be covering everything. I'm just going to be covering the major tells here. So we're first going to be looking at the spine. For those of you who don't know, well, let me first point out in this image, you have the black and white, the duality, black and white. You have the red string of Kabbalah, which, if you don't know, is a Jewish form of mysticism, which is a form of Satanism, witchcraft. It falls under the umbrella. You have male anatomy here. These long bones here are way too long. His hand is way too big. The spinal curvature is way too low for a female. You have the mandibular ramus going straight up into the ear. And I'm going to be covering a few other things in this image. Give me a moment just to cover the spine. For those of you who are new, and don't know this, the lumbar curvature is down here of the spine, and the apex of that curvature, which is the midpoint, is going to be above the navel in a female, and in a male, the midpoint of that spinal curvature is going to be below or at the navel. So it's something to look out for when we're looking at the spine of this person. We have the red string of Kabbalah. We have a flat back in both of these images here. We have a sort of male forehead here. As you can see, the brow ridge sort of juts out a little bit and then it goes into the forehead. And then you see that little hump right here that I'm pointing out. That's a male trait. In females, the forehead is completely flat, but she's a male. So the brow ridge creates that little hump that you see there in that forehead. Okay. We also have the male musculature. This sticks out to me as a male thigh. Like, there are things that will just stick out to you, and that's one of the things. Another thing that sticks out to me is the sheer size of the skull is just giant. So those are the few things that stick out to me in those images. I kind of showed through diagrams what I'm talking about with the spine. Very long bones, just a pretty broad torso for a woman too. And you can see here that the spinal curvature is way below the navel. And in this image as well. If this man were to pop his hip out to like try and emulate this pose she's doing, their spinal curvature would look identical, I promise you. Identical. I really wanted to touch on this because this is the thing that kind of really trips people up with celebrities like Ariana, because they have access to like some of the best technologies and surgeries and cosmetic things, and corseting and rib removal is probably one of those things, because as you can see here, when she's probably, I don't know, like 16, 17, 18, her waist blended into her hips. She has barely any hip/waist here. It's very male. It reads as male. She has basically no Q angle either. And then if you see here, through probably some corseting or rib removal, she has achieved this very tiny waist. And I know many girls who will look at Ariana in this picture and want her body. And that is a product, or that is exactly what the Satanists want. They want women trying to emulate or looking up to or aspiring to be or look like men. Men in drag, essentially. That's the programming. That's a product of it. Here it becomes pretty obvious, and I just wanted to point out in this image just what Satan can give you. The transformation between these two images. Completely different people here. And she looks very frumpy, like she's wearing a cami. It looks like her mom picked out this outfit at Goodwill for her. Not to drag her, but I'm just saying, like, to compare the two. It looks like she did her makeup here. Her hair's just back in a regular ponytail. Here you have hundreds of dollars of hair on her head. You have sex kitten programming. You have snow bunny programming. It's basically the same thing with, like, the white. You have the best makeup, professional makeup. You have the best clothing. She was styled in this. She has a stylist who picked out this outfit for her, tailored it to her body probably, and access to the best cosmetic crap to make her look like a woman, be it with the hair or the clothing or the surgeries or the coursing, whatever she did to achieve this body. It pales in comparison to what she used to be. Okay? I just wanted to point that out. Because here it's clear as day what gender this person is. If you just look at the anatomy, look at the broadness of the shoulders here. And the tiny, the narrow hips, I should say. Super narrow hips. This picture is extremely telling. It's probably the most damning evidence I have on Ariana Grande, because you can just see clear as day. There's no editing to this photo either, because, this is a clip of a video that was taken of her. You can see the thing that pops out, the thing that should pop out at you, is the huge mandible, the size of this mandible. And some of you may say, well, that's a pointed chin. That's a female trait. Well, surely there are men with pointed chins out there. But what's most telling about this chin is the sheer size of it. The amount of bone here is not a female trait. That's a male trait. There's so much bone here. It doesn't make any sense. Like my eyes, like my brain isn't computing that this is a woman because of the amount of bone that's here. This is a drag queen face. Straight up and down hips and waist. What else am I supposed to say? You can see the male arms here. And then side-by-side comparison, you can see what Satan can give you. He can give you the best clothing. He can give you a tiny waist, larger hips, clothing that accentuates your hips. He can give you any surgery to make you look feminine. Just look at that. Look at the shoulders here. I should have done a transformation photo of this one because, like, the arms are super telling, the shoulders, everything here is super telling. It's just her waist is so cinched in. It looks like she has some type of, like, tummy control here to make her waist look so freaking tiny. And girls want to emulate this. Little tiny girls want to look at Ariana Grande and they want to be her. They want to be like her. Some more photos. I mean, just like the biggest jaw ever. Come on. It looks like a Halloween mask. That's how big her jaw is. You have the flat back. You have the male arms. Giant torso here. Straight up and down hips. Look at that. Look how her thigh just goes right up into her hips with no curvature at all. That's not female. Another photo showing the transformation here. You should totally see the male torso sticking out at you, the male musculature sticking out at you. Oh, and another thing, look at that gaze. Look at that. Look at those eyes. Not normal. Not normal at all. These photos are also very telling for me just because when I look at her legs, I see male legs. I see the harshness of the muscles here. Very harsh, jagged lines, whereas in women it should be soft, curvy, nothing jagged. But I just see jaggedness here. The hips are up and down, as we can see. We have a male face, male jaw, straight up and down hips, male jaw. Once again, there's just so much bone there. I don't know how she gets away with it. In these images where she's younger, you can totally see the male hairline coming out here. You can see the prepubescent boy face, the flat back, the upside down trapezoid form between her shoulders and her hips, which is a male proportion. Women don't have this shape. If you were to have these wide of shoulders, you would have different proportions when it comes to your torso and when it comes to your hips. But her proportions are in line with male proportions, not female proportions. I tried to transform this photo, but it was kind of a fail. And you'll see my other photos kind of a fail too. I did not have a good time with these transformative photos in this one. But you can definitely see the male eyes here, clear as day. There's just something... What energy does this give you? Is this female energy or male energy? Another transformative photo, which kind of sucked. But again, looking at the eyes are extremely telling. The skull size is extremely telling too. The mandible, everything. Anatomical. From an anatomical standpoint, this is 100% a male. We have more sex kitten programming. We have pushed in your face. Never underestimate the power of a woman. This is not a woman. They're lying to you. They're lying to your face. They want you to think this is a woman. They want you to think this is a woman. They want men lusting after this. And it's very, very convincing too, with all of the things that they can do to their body to feminize themselves. It's very convincing. But as you can see with the anatomy that we've covered, not so much. We have male arms here, male jaw. Here you can see in these photos, these surgeries this person has had. She's definitely had some type of brow lift going on, or at the very least plucked a lot of her brows away. Because look at the distance between the eye and the brow here and the eye and the brow here. Or even over here. She's definitely had some changes to her face, for sure. Be it minuscule or big, like her jaw and her chin. And in this photo, this was the last photo I wanted to show, we can see a lot of different changes from her past self to her current. Hairline has changed. Again, I just see, it could be that she's tilting her head down a little bit, so it could give the illusion that her brow is lower than it is, but from the looks of it, her brow definitely looks a lot lower on her brow bone compared to over here. She definitely got a new makeup artist. She definitely got some filler in her lips. Probable rhinoplasty, but again, she could just be looking down, so we never know. And then she definitely got some chin work done, for sure. Alright. So that kind of wraps it up. That's kind of all I want to say about Ariana Grande. I have a few more videos coming up this week, so thank you for being patient. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or insults, please leave them down below, and I will get back to you. Until then, stay safe and God bless.